start the recording. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yep. Thank you. So last Thursday, we have seen bits and pieces of document transformation. We have just seen how to do a fixed length, how to do a max length document transformation, how to truncate values. But we'll also see today how to generate error messages and put your values in your error messages so users can act upon it. I think. But let's go to. So I've created a report. I've created a basic report with a couple of fields. I have worker employee ID, worker social security number, and the worker job profile. Just three fields, and then I I started doing an XSLT. I added almost all the functions that I can think of there. So this is my XSLT, how it looks like. This is social security. Security number, this is my job profile. Have anything here. Let's remove this. Okay. All right. So I have my access started. This is everything common. You have your ETV and XTT namespaces. So that's where you can reference your ETV functions and XTV functions in your XSLT. And then I also have my report URL. So that where I get it from is advanced, right? You guys know that. So this is where I get my namespace, and that is my report namespace. Okay. And then my output method is currently into XML. And then I have my template match. I'm matching my entire template. And what I'm creating is I'm creating a file with a separator of line feed. So this is line feed syntax. So I have hard coded it there, but this is line feed syntax. So you have to give your line feed syntax on the top. So that's where it will basically say, okay, I'm basically going into next line using a CR and LF. So this is your CR and LF. Okay. And then yeah. And then I have a tab delimited here. So I have a tab. So my header is separated. My header records are separated by a tab. So I'm using a function called XTT separator. So this is a function that XTT really supports. So I used that function to have this in here. So my header is separated by a tab. And then I have three records in my header. These are constant values. I gave my employee ID and employee ID hard coded. Social security number and job profile here. Now to the worker level. So I went to record level. So this can be record as well, anything. And then my record is also separated by CR and LF. So each record, each line item is separated by CR and LF. And then I'm calling a template for each report data / report entry, right? For each report data / report entry, I'm calling a template and I'm naming the template worker data. And this is where I reference data. So we are already into this second report entry tag. So I don't have to do a for each again, and I don't have to reference my report entry here because we are already into report entry here. So I'm calling this template worker data right here. Right? And then in worker data, I gave a variable. My employee ID is my variable. I just created my employee ID as a variable. I gave it a value of employee ID. And then now I'm creating my employee record, like each record. So I'm saying each record is separated by a comma. So I have my XTT separator set to comma. And XTT codes, I gave it a CSV. So what does XTV codes do is, it is now following the CSV rule. So if you have a comma in your CSV file, right? In your record, if you have a comma, your CSV file will basically run out of your format. So you basically will give double quotes at the end of record, right? And start and end of your record. So that's where XTT quotes. This will come, and it is currently looking for a CSV regular format. So if you have a comma separator, and then if you see a comma within your field, you encode it with double quotes, or you add double quotes at the start and end. Yeah, and I gave a quote style of double. I can give a quote style of single. I mean, even if this blank, it will default to double. And I am also saying quote when matches dot comma. So I'm saying only match quote, only quote when it matches a comma. So I added a comma within that. So whenever it sees a comma in my record, it will add a double quote. And XTT padding character, I added a padding character of dash. I used it somewhere below. So we'll see that. And ETV target. So what ETV target does is, if anything for that employee record errors out, right? You want to put an error message, or you want to put something in your browser. So ETV target, when you reference it, it will basically go back to the tenant, and it will reference, okay, this record is not valid for this employee ID. Right? So your ETV target is your employee ID. And then I have my employee ID tag. It's using an ETV truncate equal to 2, and it's using a max length of 30. And I have an SSN, same thing, required true. And severity is an error. So if I don't have an SSN, I would see an error. And then target my employee ID. Job profile required true, and I don't put any severity, so probably it should go for an warning or something. And then value of select job profile. And then I have my job profile again with a fixed length. So I have my XTT fixed length called here, and this attribute does is it will basically do your fixed width format. So if you don't have 10 characters, it will add spaces. If you have 10 characters and more, it will truncate to 10 characters. And you can also add another function here to make it not space. You can add dashes or something like this. Padding character actually does that. I can add this padding character here, and then I should see, instead of spaces, my fixed length is controlled by dashes, or dashes. So if my record is just 5 characters in length, it will add dashes at the end. Okay, and I just put this in comment, but for your knowledge, right? You can also use time zone. You can also set it, if you have a date and time field, you can set it to a specific time zone using ETV time zone EST function, and then ETV format. You can do any date format, YYYMMDD. You have your ETV date format function. And then you basically give a date of birth. Currently, my report does not have a date of birth function, so I just put it in a comment. So end tag. So I added one more field called end tag, and then reference XTT end tag. So what this XTT end tag does is, so whenever it it will basically add print end, and then it will add something like end of the document, whatever you specified here. It is some cases it is useful to add some end tags at the end of your report kind of thing, where you can count for a number of records, and then in the footer you can do an end tag. Yeah, and then for another field here, truncate field, I'm using the same job profile, but I'm using different functions here. I'm saying truncate equal to 2, and then max length equal to 10. So I don't even need this truncate in this case. But my max length equal to 10, so job profile is 10. And then ETV report truncation warning. So if it is truncating it, it will give me a warning on the top of my browser. I can also add target here. I know which employees have this error. So my ETB target basically gives me which employee has an error. Yeah, you can add a message as well, ETB message. So I can do the same message here within this and say ETB message equal to job profile exceeds max length. Okay. Now let's import it. And we're gonna import dt.xsl and I'm gonna import my new dt. Run my integration. We already seen, right? So I have my report referenced in the document retrieval section for the business process. So I have my report referenced right here, gk_test and then output.xml, and I have my report the retrieval tag set to INT403 document. And then I referenced my tag right here in the retrieval input, the input document tag section. Run it. Right now I have some errors coming up, and then I have my output file. Let's go to my output file real quick. Okay. So now my output file has an employee ID, and my header is separated tabs. So symbol, your characters. Yeah, my header is separated by tabs, and I have a line feed and characters written at the end. And then what we are looking for is this one. For example, right, if it has a comma in there, and it is going to do this quotes, double quotes, because it's following the format of CSV. And then if you have a comma within your field, it will automatically set double quotes. And it did not happen for this because there's no comma in there. And what else we did? Let's check. Let's check our XSLT. So that is good. We have our XSLT code set to CSV, which worked. Padding when this works. Padding characters. Well, let's see if we have a padding characters. You should see them here. So for example, this guy job profile is empty, and then I have job profile is already empty. So this guy, what is empty? Third character, right? SSN employee ID. Oh, yeah, this is job profile. So I have my job profile at a fixed length of 10. So after my job profile, I have this is a width of, okay, this is a width of job profile because my XML does not have job profile. I need to probably add this, add grade descriptor. Yeah, if I add this, I'll get job profile. Otherwise, I'm getting the reference ID, the width. So this is the width of that. So, and it has the dashes in there because our padding character is set to dash, and in this fixed width format, and job profile doesn't exist. So it started with padding dashes instead of spaces. And then we finish that and tag. We're just adding a print end for that, and we added end of document. So this is nothing. This is you can add an end tag. You can put a variable in there, and then you can put it at the end if needed. Like in your footer, you can create a count, and then you can input that count as a variable in the place of this end of document. Truncate, ETB truncate equal to true, max characters of 10. warning. So we're still looking for this warning. We get this, and then it will target employee ID. So let's go back to our tenant. The file looks okay, and now I have 4 errors and 1 warning. The warning should be job profile, right? So the value of truncate exceeds maximum characters of 10. So value of truncate. So truncate is my field in my XSLT. See, this is my field, the tag. So the value of truncate is exceeding the maximum of 10 characters. The value is truncated. Okay, and these are all the affected targets. So I have this employee ID, whose job profile is more than 10. So it was truncated. So I can see all my employees here, but there is no way for you to list it. It's just when you see an error, you basically business is gonna fix it and probably rerun this, and then they'll see less number of errors. In this case, the 508 everything is exceeding more than 10 characters, and then value of job profile is empty for almost like 20-25 people. You see the employee is 21507 and 17. See your output files, you can see your messages. Your messages also will show the same thing. Let's see our audits. So see our transformed XML. Yeah. So this is our transformed XML before it goes into the document transformation real functions. So what document transformation does is it will look at your transformed XML and it will say, okay, I have this field I have to give, and these are the functions I need to follow to output this field. So I have a separator, I have a padding character for this field, I have maximum length for this field, and then I do have to truncate it if the maximum length goes beyond. So that's what your DT does. And I have shared you this report, this file. Yeah. And you have a very good examples on how to do it and what the results you should expect. So they have given all the possible functions that a document transformation can do. So I've listed only some. They are like you can do it. We have looked at severity. We can do severity error, severity warning. Target is your target employee ID. Target width is your target employee ID's width. Workday uses the target to provide a hyperlink in the message. So if you do a vid, it will probably do a hyperlink. So I have to try this. If I use this function, the target vid, let's see, what's this example? Yeah, target width. When required is true, it creates a message with add a work width in after target object. If the message is attached to the integration event, the message includes a hyperlink to the target object. So you would probably have another column, and it will say employee ID in there, and you can click on that employee ID, and it will directly take you to that employee ID. But getting target width, you have to get it from your report. That's you have to add another field in your report saying employee ID and then width or reference ID in your report, within your report, and get it. So there is width within your report. Workday worker, let's do Workday ID is your width. Okay, you can get this and you can reference this instead of your employee ID within your document transformation, so you can create hyperlinks. Let's give it a try. Why not? Variable name, WP, Workday ID. So I replaced my variable with the Workday ID, and it should automatically set everything to that. So let me deploy it and let's try to run it. Just try once. Okay, they did not do it. Oh, I did not use the function. Seriously, I've used the target. I have to use the target with one. That's my target with. And I'm looking for target with WID. Okay. So now you have your targets. So you have job profile exceeds maximum length, and you have your targets, 508 targets, where you can basically business can basically click on it and then see instead of your regular reporting. So too many. Should not write for job profile in the first place. Yeah. Now output value for job profile for 22 targets, and then you have your all 22 targets here. Yeah. So this is how you basically use your DT. The main advantage between DT and XSLT or your simple EIB is this. So you can create your errors, you can create your warnings, and you can give a like this chart of report to business so they can change it and they probably have to rerun it to fix those errors. Questions, anyone? I'll share it at this XSLT, but this is pretty simple. You can get these functions from the document that I have shared. All these functions are listed here. Yeah. Uh, Everyone's good. Okay. And what else in this DT? So you can also use this DT as part of your core connector. So we have built a core connector, right? So let's see our core connector int ACW outbound, the core connector worker. All you have to do is go into the BP. We already added it. So you can add your another step in there called integration step, and you can configure your integration to reference the DT. So mostly a core connector is almost always accompanied with a DT. I mean, core connector gives you an XML, and you have to format it into the required fields that vendor want, right? So mostly core connector is referenced, is added at DT always. EIB is most developers will prefer doing an outbound EIB instead of getting into the DT, unless it is really required. It's just the same thing. I don't know. It's just developers' preference of going into an EIB or going into a DT. Okay. So that's all for DT. It's what I was last time I was trying to work out these errors and they did not show up. So now they're good. Okay. Let's get to other topics now. So what I'll do now is I'll just walk you through the tenant setups, how to do tenant setups. Uh, did Danush go over any tenant setup during his last two sessions? You haven't seen it, right? Okay. So you can do something called edit tenant setup. I would say view tenant setup instead of edit, just to make sure we don't change anything. So what? Okay, tenant setup. So this tenant setup is basically designed for the entire tenant level setups. For example, set up how your employee ID is getting sequenced, set up how your job profile ID or reference IDs are getting created, set up notifications, what are your business process rules, recruiting rules. So there are so many setups here. So tenant setup system is basically your system title. Welcome to Workday. I don't know where it's referenced. Yeah. Notice too, this might be in the during the login information. So you can see when you're trying to log in, you can see all this, most of this information. Sign on customer message, you can give an users any sign on customer message if you want. Error message for browser, so what it is. Media marketing text, so you can add your proprietary rules, uh, logos. So you can edit this and you can probably change it, all of this to different things, but not do it in this tenant. It's not our tenant. So don't do it. But you can just go to the tenant setup and see what options we have. Uh, so default currency is set to USD. Default pay rate type is current. What is current? What is created a pay rate type called current? Sorry, currency rate type called current. I don't know what it is. So preferred currency rate type current. Country phone code is currently set to United States. So it's a default value, but users can change their phone types if they have international phones. The default value is set to United States. Time zone, currently this is set to Pacific. Business process date time calculation zone, current default time zone setting, so it goes to Pacific. So this is really important. I mean, you guys will see, but this will happen a lot. So when you're editing your business process, right? So this time zone is in Pacific. So for example, if our midnight happens, so if I'm trying to change something at midnight, and if I go for a date called 225, because I'm in EST, my time zone already got to 225, right? So I'm doing a change on a business process at 1 a.m. sitting in EST time zone. Okay, so it's already 225 for me. So I'll think that I'm giving an effective date of 225 on this business process. But what I'm actually doing is I'm giving an effective date of 224 because 220. No, I'm actually giving an effective date of 225. So I'm giving an effective date of 225 for your EST when I'm sitting. And when you try to run this business process, it will not get effect because 225 did not happen on Pacific yet. So Pacific time zone, it's still 224. So this is a problem. It basically occurs for your tenant setup when it is defaulted to Pacific time zone. It will happen. So I've seen it happen a couple of times. So just to make sure you change the business process and you are not seeing the change. And if you did it during the midnight time zone, that's the problem. So because you're sitting in a time zone and you're making the change effective 225, but when you're running it 225, the business process is not really effective until 225 because on Pacific time zone it is still 224:11 p.m. or something like. So just keep that in mind if something like that comes up. A general name system setup. Enable postal code validation. So these are all something new system setups that Workday will come up. So they added this postal code validation. So in your business process, if a user is adding address, Workday automatically validates and says this is a valid postal code or not. Excuse me. Allow attachment within email. So this is mostly used for notifications, business process notifications, sending offer letters. If you uncheck this, people cannot send attachments within your notifications. Maximum size, minimum sizes, file type setup instructions. Yeah, there are only certain file types that you can upload. You can allow all file types, enable content delivery network. And this is for mobile app. So enable attachments to mobile has only limited functionality, so it does not have that big setup. I think it should have a separate system setup all itself. User activity logging. This enables user activity to be recorded in a secure worker tenant database. So this probably is for the CMS. I'm not sure. This is there, and there is a customer central access. So you can, if you have a customer central tenant, you can enable this, so you can link your customer central tenant to your regular tenant. Tenant setup search. Let's go through them quick. Come on. Search is taking a lot of time. Okay, I went to reports and analytics. There's nothing here. Enable access to report run history. There is a report run history. I don't know. Report run history. Oh, okay. Hopefully, I can see what reports are run by when and how much. Let's see, KSC, Kuta. So I've run this report total of 9 times, and probably this can say when I ran it and how do I run it. So web service is nothing but your DT. So whenever your DT is getting it, it will probably go on the back end, not retrieve it on the front end. Interactive is when I manually ran it on the UI. So others are, I'm running the document transformation, right? So document transformation gets the report, has a web service, and then applies my DT functions. Report run history, nice to know. I have global setups. Global setups are what are all the citizenship types you can accept, ethnicities, place of birth. Yeah, so this is all just a setup data, right? So most of this data is set up during implementation. So you collected this all this data, and Workday implementation partners, they have a raw set of data that they'll enter in your tenant setup. But if you want to restrict any people from any citizenships that are not possible in your company, you can remove them. There's also languages section. What languages are possible? Is it a Workday supported language or not? Security. Enable secure emails. Yes, send to work email only. So notifications are sent to work email. If you select a different option, it probably will send it to home as well. By login redirect account, you can set up single sign-on here within security. So you probably need what we call. You probably need an authentication client and those URLs to redirect from your client's environment into Workday. You can do an OAuth single sign-on as well. So this is where you have your private keys. Some private one. What is this? Let's see. Security. Private key. Yeah. Business processes where what's important here? E-signature configuration. So Workday linked up with Adobe. So you probably will see only e-signatures that are possible with Adobe. If you are using any other e-signature clients, Workday does for them, you probably have to do an external integration for them and then do a email or notification so they can candidates or employees can go into your different e-signature website and sign your documents. But if you are taking Adobe, Workday integrates with them, so you can actually sign within Workday itself by inserting your Adobe sign-in secure integration key. You're acknowledging, yeah, you're basically allowing Adobe to integrate with Workday. So if a candidate has to sign a document, they can directly sign it in Workday. Otherwise, if you're using a different e-signature, then it's a different. But I've seen Adobe is costly. One of my clients, they went with a different one. Adobe is charging like $3 or something per signature. It's too much. Tenant setup is integration, studio settings, required source code. We'll see what source code is, but this determines if the source code is required when deploying your code into the tenant or not. So most of the tenants, this is always set to yes. So that case, even the developers forget, Workday reminds that you have to deploy your source code first. So source code is always required. Integration subscriptions, not needed. This is not working actually. Subscriptions or something like when you do a core connector, right? You can create a subscription. So whenever a high event happens, Workday can do a HTTP post call to your external site, and then Workday can the core connector worker can basically sends basic information that this is a high event happened at this particular time, and this is all the basic information we have. But I've tried, it's not working. So Workday said it's not working as well, but they still keep it here. Notifications. This is another thing that's important. So notifications, you have already seen how to configure your notifications, right, within your integration system. But this is the tenant level setup that controls if your notification can go out or not. So here you have your default SMTP configuration, which will have your SMTP username and password, who to reply to. This is all your SMTP setting. Okay. And then reminder settings, email comparison, email restrictions. So you can disable all your emails for a specific environment. So if you want to disable emails for your sandbox environment, you can set this. And in sandbox environment, your emails will not go anywhere. Or you can redirect emails to a specific contact or a specific email address. So for example, in your sandbox or your development tenants, if you want to redirect it to a test email address instead of a regular production email address, you can use this redirect all emails to this specific email address. And you can also restrict by integration, so business processes. Yeah. So you can stop your alerts. So if your alerts are disabled, then email the yeah, you won't see any. But this is like your parent setup. If you have your emails disabled here, none of the below settings work. So they will basically go back to your parent and say, okay, I said disable all emails, so don't go. But you can independently configure what emails are going. So in this case, default notification channels is disabled. So even though this is allowed, it is disabled here. I don't know why they gave multiple options, but that's how it is. If you want to enable, you probably have to change this to immediate email, and then it will probably send an immediate email when a business process action happens, right? But we don't want it to happen in this tenant, so I'm gonna cancel it. Canceling it. Let's see. System emails, student, recruiting. Recruiting is one other thing, right? You have to send immediate emails to candidates on their statuses, interviews, and things like that. So default set is immediate. You can also change it to disabled if you're doing it in a sandbox environment. You can have your sandbox disabled here. So these settings don't apply at all. HCM. So within this HCM, this is where you set up your IDs, employee IDs or things. So the ID for employee ID. So this is nothing but a sequence generator that we have already created sequence generators for EIPs and CCWs, right? You create an ID or sequence generator, and then what you do is you give it a sequence to increment. You can add any format here, so just edit it. Currently, last number used is 21502. If you change it, then the next employee ID will get the next sequence value, right? And you can add A in the inference, so all your employee IDs will have A, or all your employee IDs start with E, kind of a thing. Okay, so that is how you usually do your sequence generators, discard. Yeah. And then similar way, you have your applicant IDs. Typically, those are starting with A. You have your person ID is, well, this is employee ID. So employee ID and contingent worker ID, they are using the same sequence generator. So if you're hiring an employee ID, you gave it 21502, next you are hiring a contingent worker. Because it's using the same sequence generator, the sequence already incremented to 21503. So you see a new contingent worker ID there. Dependent IDs for benefits, beneficiaries, what's your job code gonna increment. Currently it is set to null, so probably it's Workday defaulted thing. It will say job code underscore or something, or users, whenever they create job profiles, right, they enter their own job codes. Positions are starting with P. Yeah, so length of staffing, what are these? Enable organization defaults on create job requisition. I have your time off settings. Not sure. I mean, I haven't ever used tenant setup before, so I'm just going through. So there are like, you can do, this is all basic setup data, how your tenant should behave. That's it. So cancel. Recruiting has its own tenant level setup, so you can probably do enable integration with LinkedIn Talent Solutions set to true, Microsoft Outlook and release scheduling integration. So this is all handled by Workday. They probably have an integration already built with LinkedIn. So when you enable it, MyOS it will work with LinkedIn, or when you enable this, when you schedule an integration, Outlook invites directly go to candidates and in interviewers as well. Okay, payroll, it's probably a big setup here. Yeah, I'm not going there. Financials and workloads. Yeah. So this is what is there in the tenant setup. You guys can view it, but do not edit it. Pretty sure, don't edit it. Okay. And next up. So how do we restrict users from accessing your tenant or users from different IP addresses outside your company's network, right? So something called edge authentication. Let's do authentication policies. So manage authentication policies is basically a task that defines what are your authentication policies for a specific tenant, right? In this case, you have an authentication policy here, and it is restricted to sales, and you have it enabled, and there are no pending changes. And there is probably no sales environment. This is just a dummy authentication policy here. Then open it in a new tab. So view authentication policy, restricted to sales authentication policies enabled. Network blacklist, there are no network blacklists. Currently, there is only authentication whitelist. there any IP addresses here? Yeah, there is a restricted. Let's see. I edited because of security. But what you have is you have your security group. So let's take this test for FMA. That is a user-based security group, I guess. So test for FMA is a user-based security group. So these members, Betty Lou and myself, can access this tenant with any authentication policy, and my authentication type is set to username and password. So whenever I'm accessing this tenant, I can directly access to username and password. And if I need a multi-factor authentication, yes. And you also have other rules. So multi-factor authentication security group 1. So these are all your custom security groups. So you probably will see something like security administrator here, who can access with username and password anywhere in the tenant or in any network. You'll have your HR partners only accessing within a specific IP range, kind of a thing, right? So these are all security groups. And then similarly, the users of these security groups always should have a username and password plus challenge questions. And users in this group, it is set to username and password plus one-time password. So they always get. Yeah, this is the same thing. So this is where there is a new security group, or there's a new type of authentication condition. This is coming from restricted network. So instead of any, they selected the specific, and they have a restricted network here. So I'm just opening it here. So restricted network is nothing but your IP range. So you have your IP range set to 0 currently, but you can change the IP range, and you can add multiple IP ranges. Let's see if I can do it. IP range 8. Yeah. So you can do an IP range of 162 dot something off your network, and then 162.1.1.21. And if you have multiple IP ranges, I think you can do something like this, 45, 44. So it will look for 162.1.1.1 until 21, and single column for, and it will look for 22, 23, 24 until 44. Let's see. No, it's not a problem. So I have to do this. Hold on. Type a comma separated list of IP using XXX or XXX2 is what I did. 192.162.1.0/24. Okay. So in order to add a range, I probably do this 192.162.1.100. Okay, yeah. This is how you add a range from this IP range to this IP range. Okay, and it is saying you have to activate your authentication policy changes, similar to how you activated your security policy changes, in order for this IP policy to be activated. I'm going to cancel it. So you can add that, and you can specify how the user is going to log in from an outside network or from your restricted network, right? I think you can also set some access restrictions. So this guy has an access restriction of no export to PDF or Excel. How do they do it? View access restrictions. So you can probably use a task called create access restrictions, and you can exclude a functionality to export and PDF. So let's see, create access. I don't have security on. I don't think I have security. Let's edit it. So these are all the excludes functionality. So you can download something, you can do in inbox approvals, only within this network kind of a thing. So many policies here. Yeah. And then there is a default rule for all users. Currently it is set to null. So all users, any user can sign in from anything. So they didn't set anything for all users. Of you guys are, and this policy is restricted to sandbox. So typically, to sales. So this all conditions does not apply to us right now. Okay. Any questions?
Krishna, I have one question.
Yeah.
I have installed Studio. It was asking for tenant credentials. I assume that these are regular tenant credentials, right? The URL and the user ID and password.
Yeah, I'll show you guys how to do it. Just in a moment.
Yeah. And my other question is, as we don't have regular access on our regular credentials, we go with the proxy later on, right? Do we do the same after we get on to Studio?
No, you should have a regular access. You probably have to add certain security groups to yourself in order to have access to Studio.
Okay. So would you share?
Yeah, I'll actually add for one person, and you guys can add for yourself.
Sure. Thank you.
Any questions not related to Studio? I mean, next is Studio, so I'll open Studio right now, but in this DT or something. Okay.
So question is, so I see that Workday manages very well multi-factor authentication from within the application itself. Does it? So I saw that you have a one-time passcode that also gets generated from Workday. What if the client is using a multi-factor like Duo application? Can it use that external third-party Duo to send the one-time code?
I don't know that. Yeah, I'm not sure how they do it actually.
Okay.
I can check. I'll look for it in community and I'll let you know. But I'm not sure how they're gonna, if they're using their own services to do that one-time password, or if they're using a third
Right,
party.
because what happens with Duo is that we're all young and we want to use our cell phones, but when you go into universities, they have faculties who don't want to use their personal phone, and then you have some employees who have been there for 20 some years. They don't want to use their cell phones and for all these one-time passcodes so what happens is that they want a phone call on their landline. And I don't know if Workday can do that. I know Duo can do that. It can call you and give you the one-time code. Or you have hardware tokens. Some people have hardware tokens instead of a soft code coming to you, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have to look at that. I'm not sure how they're doing it.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
The constraints of login so AT&T as carrier for testing so far. I received a text with a code failing. Alright, yeah. I look at it. Probably there are like a lot of questions out there on this.
Okay.
We'll find something. Yep. Okay. Okay. So Studio. Let me go back to myself. Profile. Go to actions. I change my security groups.
Is that for the Workday Studio? You're changing the security group?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I know you had given me those integration security group. I still was not able to pull up the Workday Studio with Abbott_GMS1. It gives me the same error. So there could be something else I'm missing.
Yeah. Let's see. I haven't tried it yet. So see. So currently you guys are set to security administrator like I am. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy my URL here. About_GMS1. Open my studio. We'll see if anyone has installation problems. We'll get to it later. I'm gonna create a new workspace for our class. A lot of workspaces.
We can't see your screen. We cannot see
I'm sharing and
we can see only the Explorer, but not the Workday Studio.
I'm able to see.
Even I can see.
you can see this Workday Studio, right? And then I did a workspace launcher.
Yeah, I can now. I can.
So where am I? What am I doing it? I have my workspaces. Yeah, it is myself. I have a new folder called. Seriously. Okay. I created a class workspace. I'm gonna open that. So I have a class workspace now. Okay. And now it's gonna ask for me for my credentials, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna enter credentials here. I can say do not show this login on startup. So that's where you don't have to enter your credentials on the startup. You can do it later in your studio. I'm gonna click OK. Have my studio. You get this. You'll get this welcome page. You can go to this welcome page later also. So I'll show you how to do it. But currently I'm closing this. And now this is my studio workbench. So some basic things is I'm gonna minimize my outline. We don't need it. So this is our Cloud Explorer on our left, and this is our Project Explorer. And Project Explorer typically is where our projects rely, and Cloud is how do you connect to your and then how do you deploy it to your tenant, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do on Sandbox. Right click, connection details. Just clicked on Sandbox, right click, connection details, and then there is a URL here. You have you have different types of URLs here. So you have your production URL set to Ashburn, Portland, and Dublin, implementation Atlanta, Portland, and Dublin. So currently mine is an implementation. So mine should be at least one of these three: Atlanta, Portland, and Dublin. Okay, how do I identify this? Is currently this is set to Atlanta, I believe. So wd5._impl, right? That's my URL in my browser. So this is E2, so that's not mine. So I change it to Portland. Let's see. Portland is wd5.impl. And what's Dublin? Dublin is wd3. So my tenant is in Portland right now. That's how I identify where my tenant URL is. So I go to my user, I look at what's the starting of it, and I basically have to equate it to my URL. So I'm on an implementation, and I click Portland, and then I give it a tenant name, Abbott_GMS, and then I have my credentials. So one second, guys. Yes, Gupta, and then I'm gonna get it in a minute. Okay, share.
Okay, I think I know now. My URL was wrong. I was using the default.
Yeah. Yep, that's probably it. So pasted my password and I'm doing test connection. Okay, this should fail. Come on. Okay. So I have another message saying KC Gupta at about is not permissions to deploy, launch, and business process section. User should have access to at least one of the security groups under each section to perform basic functions of the session, right? So 3 different groups here. I have deploy, and I need to have at least access to one of the security groups in deploy. Okay. So I pick integration administrator here. Okay. Just remember integration administrator in deploy. And then I need to have launch. So for this also I have integration administrator. So I'm going to pick that. And for business process, I don't have my integration administrator. So I have to have a different security group in order to perform this action. So I'll pick the business process administrator. Yep. And then click cancel. I'll go back to my tenant.
So Krishna, I'm able to see all the tick marks now, deploy, launch, and all 3 are working now.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
the other day,
because you
security groups.
Yeah, security groups. So you add your integration admin. And you add your business process admin. Okay. Now if I go back to my tenant studio and then test transport. Now my connection has been tested successfully. So I have 3 tick marks and I am right check on. Okay. Okay, give it a minute. Somebody has to go on mute. Oh, I thought of showing you guys this. Oh, okay. I'm gonna do it again, real quick.
I think we need to change the URL.
Yeah. Okay. Now I am part of integration admin, so I have a tick mark here. Similarly, I am part of at least one of the security groups in the below sections. So I'm now able to access my connection has been tested successfully. Click OK. And then you click OK. And then you have your orange light on, right? So that is your tenant. I would say is actually do it in a different way. I'm gonna remove this connection here. What I'll do is I'll remove this password, username, and things. What I'll do is I'll add a tenant. I'll add a connection here. I'll do it GMS implementation, and then I do it a URL called Portland. Username KC Gupta, and password. Okay. I'm gonna set my default to my GMS implementation. So I'm gonna click OK. So that way I have my GMS implementation here, and my sandbox and production are. So I mean, you can production. You will not log into any other environments using the production thing, right? Because production URL is entirely different. This is set to my workday.com. Say this implementation URLs are same. So those are set to impl. Sandbox and implementation, they have similar URLs. Only your tenant and the tenant name changes, right? So you can log into your implementation tenant using this connection, but it's recommended to create your own connection. So you have your independent sandbox and production connections separately, right? So if I open it, I see all my Yeah, I see all my code here. I see all my packages or all my clarifiers is what they call. These are all integrations that are built on this tenant. These are all studio integrations. EIBs and code connectors is separate. So these are all studio integrations here. So that is where we are. And then you have your project explorer here. This is your assembly. Once you create a project, this assembly opens up. Currently it's dark. You have your schema explorer here. Schema explorer is used to call web services. So you can actually add web services here and test them if they're working or not. You can add report services here and you can test them. Yeah. Clipboard history, it's nothing, just copy. Let's see some simple. So what I would say is I will ask you to go to quick access. Quick access is like your search in your Workday. It's just your search where you can search for example, if you're missing your Cloud Explorer, right? I search for my Cloud Explorer and I have my Cloud Explorer view. So I'm searching for welcome. I missed my welcome. So I have my welcome menu. So if I click on it, I go back to my welcome menu. So apparently, guys, I learned Studio from this welcome. Nobody taught me. So this is where this has almost everything you need to create a integration in Studio. So you have your overview, introduction, things like that, and then first steps. And you have your tutorials, you have your samples. You create Hello Cloud samples, so you can create your standard basic integration. Right. This is very helpful. That's what I'm going to say. We'll go through most of the stuff, but it's always helpful. You can refer to your help and you can search for any content, and then you can rely on that content. That's very helpful. So how you typically create a project, right? So I go to File, New, Workday Assembly Project. So this is all basic. So yeah, we Workday Assembly Project, or I right click on my Project Explorer, New, Workday Assembly Project. So we are creating a Workday Assembly project. You also have an options to create a text file, text schema file, visual file, or Workday schema. You have so many different projects, or you have a lot of things here. Currently, I'm creating a Workday Assembly project. I gave it a project name. First, it's always there. ND404. I don't know, underscore test. Default location is currently set to my workspace that I've created, class workspace. And target runtime is always have to be set to Workday runtime. Java, it's an assembly project. So next, and then I can give it a different collection name. It's all the same, so I keep the collection name same. So once you create it, it basically is creating or opening up your assembly page, and then you have your palettes, everything to look for. So I'm going to minimize this Schema Explorer right now. We're not going to use it. Okay. So this is our assembly. So this is a blank slate right now. So you can create or you can write your syntax here, and then it has to do what you want to do. So you go to design. Design is where you drag and drop things. So you can drag and drop things and you can create your assembly. And then source is where actually that assembly converts into a code, right? It's all on Java Beans. So whatever you're designing here, it will automatically convert into a code. And you typically don't want this code, but you'll sometimes look at this source to search anything. For example, if you created a very large assembly with 50 or 60 components, and you're searching for a variable within that assembly, it will be tough. So source is sometimes helpful to do that. You can Control F and search for the name. Yeah, message builder is, we'll see that later in the session. And you have your left column here. This is called palettes. So palettes are your assembly components that you use, and to each palette has its own function or purpose to fulfill. So these are all annotation palettes, annotation components. These are just for naming or adding comments or annotating your code. I'm gonna go back there. So in transport, so you have your workday in transport and local in transport. Workday is your starting point, and we'll see what the functions of each palette is. But currently, so you have your out transports that are going to SFTP out. You can do an FTP, you can do an email out, you can send an email from Studio. You can do a HTTP out. HTTP out is mostly used for calling your external APIs or posting external REST call to an external vendor. And for calling Workday APIs, you use Workday out SOAP. And for calling Workday reports, you use Workday out REST. And there are other components, sync mediation, async mediation, route, splitter, aggregator. So these are all, each will perform its own function, and we'll see each function later in the sessions. And you can create logs, and you have transformations here. So transformations are, you can do a text to Excel, you can do an XML to Java, XML to JSON, JSON to XML, Java to XML, CSV, XML to CSV, or CSV to XML. So if you have a CSV input file, you can transform it into XML to use it in your Studio. So Studio, your main language is on XML, so it's entirely based upon XML. So whatever you get in your input file, you have to convert it into an XML file in order to have your palettes understand what's going on. You can build hash maps using these tables. They recently gave this ETV step. It is like your validation step in your document transformation. I've never used it. We'll try and see what it is. ETV. Message manipulations. You have your set headers for your HTTP post calls. You can write your JavaScript to manipulate your HTML or manipulate your XML. And then validations, you can do validations. Encoding, you can create a PCP encrypt from here. Or if you have a base64 file, you want to convert into a text file or an image, you can as well do that. You can zip or unzip files, compress, decompress. And this is your custom bean. So you can, if you want to write a custom JavaScript or custom bean Java, you can use this and you can write your own code. This is mostly used for very complex custom things. But most of your regular things you can, I've never used it, and I've been doing Studio for past 4 years, so no worries. Retrieve, store to your tenant, retrieve from your tenant. So all your palettes. So this is your palette section. All you do is drag and drop here. And then once you drag and drop, your source automatically creates that, your source automatically updates with your design. So each palette has properties underneath it. So your properties are, for this one, this is a name. So main entry. And then you have your advanced properties, and because this is the starting point, you have your launch parameters, attributes, and everything. Services, integration services here. But it's not going too deep in this one right now. So it's all drag and drop, and your source code will update as it needs. Okay. And then that's it. And you can use this Java debugger right in here to debug this assembly, and you can also understand where the error is, and you can do a step-to-step debug or line-to-line debug functionality is also there. And then let's see, file convert delimitations. So workspace is also important. If you have a package or a code in your workspace, if you're trying to bring us the same code with the same name, your workspace basically errors. I mean, it will throw an error saying there's already an existing package with that name. So if you're trying to bring int404_test again, you probably have to delete this or rename this into a different package and then do it. So when you're deleting, it will always ask delete projects from your disk. So if you don't select this, that is just a soft delete. It is still in your workspace, but it's not reflecting in your Project Explorer. You select it and it's a hard delete. You delete it from your workspace. Okay, so otherwise you might have to switch workspaces between your work, and then you go to your different workspaces and do a different work or different client. You can import CLAR files, you can export CLAR files. So we'll see that. Navigate, nothing important. Search, project, nothing important. Yeah, these are all your workday functions that you'll use. You can create something for here. If you want to merge multiple collections, you'll see like you want to merge two CLAR files into one CLAR file, and then if you want to deploy it and you have your code integrated between two studio files, you can do that. Report Designer is another topic. It's called BIRT, Business Intelligence Reporting Tool. So you can use the Report Designer to create PDF files, mostly used for compensation statements, talent cards, and printing any employee evaluations and things like that. So you can install the Report Designer from here. So I'll do it later, but you guys can do it. Install Report Designer. Yeah, this is the run control parameter, and these parameters are all available here. So run is here, debug is here, so you all have everything here. Window open perspective. Perspectives are something like a different view for your studio. So if you are opening a debug perspective, this changes into a debug perspective mode. So you have your assembly debug, and you have your breakpoints where you set your breakpoints, debug details, servers, and everything. And if you want to go back to Workday, you just click on Workday on your right corner, and you go back to Workday. You can also have a perspective. You will also have a perspective for Report Designer. If you install a Report Designer, it's a perspective. It's an entire different view, right? It has its own components. It has its own windows that will help in that perspective. You can create your own perspective if you want both debug and Workday into one perspective. If you want your windows merged up, so you can also do that. Help, check for updates. Your studio should always be on green on your right corner, and whenever a studio update is given, it will turn into red or yellow, and you can't really deploy into Workday if your studio is not up to date. So they always make you update your studio. What else? And Schema Explorer, right? We discussed. So Schema Explorer is used for calling web services or calling schemas or reports. So web services, so something like you can add a latest web service from your tenant staffing. Workday has its own web service tester, like your SOAP UI or some other tool outside. A Studio has its own web service tester, so you can test your web service within Studio, and then you can use that tested template to build your integration. So you can do that as well. So these are all your APIs under staffing. They're all coming with version 30 right now. So these are all our APIs with version 30. And versions, right? Workday supports versions. I think currently they are still supporting 22 or something. Let's see. Okay, web services. So if your integration is on an earlier version, Workday still support those things. So Version directory. Yeah, Workday is still supporting until V9. Yeah, so version 9. And they have good versions. So if your integration is on version 9, your web service will have a version parameter which says what version API is, and it will react based upon that version. And if you're going to later versions, you might have to update your API to the newer version and add or remove fields as required. Okay, you can, yeah, and you have to use XSLT almost everywhere in this studio, the next part. So that's pretty much what this UI looks like. You can actually play with it. I see a lot of people did not have installed it yet. So let's concentrate the next 15-20 minutes on installation problems if you have, and we'll start on Monday with these palettes, and we'll go into deep of each of it, and we'll create multiple studios. Okay, and then I have given you guys an assignment. I updated this assignment with outbound EIB. Your report is your source, so you create an EIB with that. And then this has your fixed lengths and formats that I need. So for example, I've given a compensation in a format. So you have to put it in this format. So you probably have to write your XSLT to do it. And convert your report into an EIB. I have given you a maximum length. It's a fixed width file, text file, with a space as your padding character. Okay. Let's get into studio problems. Someone said they have installation problems. You guys, whoever has studio, you can stay if you want to see the installation issues. Otherwise, I think that's it for today. You guys don't have any questions.
Thank you, Krishna. I'm going to sign up.
Thank you.
So, Krishna, do you want me to share my screen or?
Yeah, let's. Yeah, you can. You start sharing your screen. How do I have to give you the presenter access?
I'll see if
Probably already have.
when your participant is sharing, I cannot share. Might be once you stop sharing, I'll be able to share.
Okay, I stopped. Yeah.
So let me know if you're able to see.
Yeah, I can see.
So I did download this, Krishna, like I tried opening, and mine is a Windows 64-bit operator. So what I did is like I selected this Windows 64.
Okay.
I think I downloaded this 162. So is it fine any version? I tried downloading this.
It should be.
So there are 161 and 162, and I saw the difference, and I thought like this is the latest version. So I did click on this, and then
yeah, I think it should be fine. I don't see.
Okay, and next step is like downloading this file. I did download it, and it's in my download folder. I did find this the jar files, and for replacing this. So when I go to C programs Java and this JDK version in my PC, so this is where C programs Java JDK 162, but here it is 112. So I thought like this is since I downloaded this 162 version. And then I went to JRE and LIB. And then once I click security, I don't see the jar files in this local policy jar and US export policy. I see here, and I see in the folder limited and unlimited both has again the jar file. So which one should I replace, Krishna?
Hold on. This, I didn't see something like this before. So, okay, my PC. I'm trying to go into my users. Local files, datasets. JDK 1.8. JRB. Okay. So let's go back to your Java. Actually, let's go back to your Java. Java JDK. Yeah. The first one you already selected, right?
Yes,
First
because
one, yeah.
JDK and JRE,
Yeah.
I just selected the first one, and then I went to JRE, LIB, and security.
Security. I mean, I basically have those. Let me see if I have those policies. Just have this jar file.
Krishna, Ramya here. Hi, Radhika. I have the same thing. I replaced in both the places.
Okay, and it works.
So when I was installing.
Both the limited and unlimited, Ramya?
Yeah, I replaced in both the places.
And did it work?
Yeah, it did work for me.
Okay.
So it is within the folders, right, Ramya? Limited and unlimited?
The same thing. I have the same thing. 2 folders.
Okay. Let me try that.
Anybody having Mac issues? Because I don't know how to solve them. So let's use Mac.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask you that.
So did you have Mac and do you have issues? I mean, I was asking if the Mac user, whatever it is, if you're able to figure out, you click continue. You need to replace those files.
Okay. I think it's saying administrator permission to copy the file.
To continue again, let's see. It probably is asking for the second file. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, let's get used to.
So So after this, I just have to download this, right, Krishna?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we need to record this. Let's stop recording.